Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. As you can see behind me, we are very close to TNA Emergence and a return of one of my personal favorite matches, the Ultimate X. But to get your fix on TNA Emergence and weekly TNA programming, please download the TNA Plus app and get on some of that like I do every week. Alternatively, in the UK, you can watch it on DAZN and AXS TV over in the States. However, we do have a special guest as we go to Emergence this week. Someone who has X Division, well, he's already got X Division Gold, but has included himself very, very recently, the title's right there, into the X Division match himself. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the brand new X Division champion, Speedball Mike Bailey. How are you?
I am great, Adam. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, thank you so much for taking some time to come and talk to me. It means a lot to us here on the channel. And big thanks to TNA and everyone involved for making it possible. I feel first things first, Mike. Congratulations, TNA X Division champion. How does that feel?
Thank you. It feels great. It feels right. You know what I mean? It feels like this is exactly where I've been angling my career for the past nearly 20 years, and I feel right at home.
Certainly does feel at home for you. I mean, it was even more at home because Slammiversary was where you won it over in Canada, which is also a big thing. You talk about that in general because put that into context, you win a title in Canada in front of one of the biggest crowds TNA have had in over a decade.
I mean, yeah, it was absolutely incredible to go out there and just get to enjoy it in a way that I normally don't, because I am an extremely practical, focused person. And it's a great piece of advice when it comes to professional wrestling, which is just enjoy the moments, just soak it in. And I am notoriously completely unable to do that. I am focused on the logistics. I'm trying to control every single little thing that I can. And luckily, in this match, I had a huge chunk of time in the last 10 minutes with Earl Hebner coming out and the ref being knocked out and the Secret Service being taken out, where I was just down and listening to the reaction from the audience and enjoying it. And it was absolutely incredible because it wasn't just 4,000 people, right? It was 4,000 people in my hometown.
Yeah.
And no matter where I looked, I saw not only someone that I recognized, but people that I knew, friends, family, people that I had wrestled in the past, people that had been involved in Quebec pro wrestling for the past 20 years, and a bunch of new fans as well, people that were being, were there were people being hit by the energy as well, and that I know were there for the first time, but maybe even seeing their first live wrestling show, and they were going to become lifelong fans because of moments like this. And to me, that's what makes matches like that so special.
Yeah, it was. It was great. I got to admit, when I saw El Hebner, I was thinking, oh no, here we go again. After everything that he'd obviously done in Montreal before, did that ever cross your mind when you're locked in that sharpshooter and he's there and you can see him positioning that you like, don't, just don't.
Well, of course, it's Earl Hebner, right? That was the defining moment of his career for a long time, which is kind of a shame because he has done so much. He has a long and storied career. He is potentially the most well-known professional wrestling referee in history, in the entire world. And when people think of him, they're like, that's the guy that screwed over Bret Hart. And then to be in the ring when he finally, after many, many years, goes back in the ring in Montreal for the first time in a very long time and makes things right. It's definitely a unique moment.
Yeah, it certainly was. I was glad he didn't ring the bell because, to be fair, Ali did put you through the ringer to get to that opportunity. I mean, initially, campaign scene costing you when you took on Trent, which we'll get into your tag partner in a minute because obviously a good friend of the show, good old Trent. But we'll get into that. You then, you finally Trent wasn't successful, and then finally he agrees to give you the shot, and then he puts you through the gauntlet. So did it feel more gratifying that after everything, it kind of felt like you deserved it even more because of everything you'd gone through in the past?
So it does. It absolutely does. And it had been building up for months. And I feel like this is the moment that Ali wanted, that he was hoping for. He had me from all sides, and he'd been working to break me, I think is the right way to say it, for the last several months with everything we've gone through. But I feel like it was him that was starting to break. I feel like the facade of his campaign and everything was starting to crack. So it had been building up to this moment. But I mean, I don't want to make it seem like there's any animosity for me towards Mustafa Ali. I mean, if there's anything that I've learned from my long career in professional wrestling, is that people are going to do what they do. And you can only trust them to be themselves, and you can only control how you react to that and how you maneuver around that. So, I mean, I'm only grateful to Ali for working as hard as he did to protect what was then his X Division championship and testing me, forcing me to prove myself, forcing me to become even better, and made me the champion I am now.
Yeah, and a good champion I think you'll be. But what, as fans, can we expect from you as X Division champion?
This is what I've been saying. The X division is the best division in all of professional wrestling. I want to prove that I am the best of the best. And the only way that I can do that is by being a fighting champion, by going out there in the ring, taking on all challengers and proving myself every single time.
Well, you'll get a chance to do that at Emergence. But before we get to that and we get to the crazy thing you decided to do on Impact recently, let's just talk about our good friend Trent. I mean, it was a tag team that none of us expected, but I think we all needed. Speedball Mountain when it finally happened. How did this all come about with Trent?
So it started at Final
Yep.
Resolution in December of last year. And it was kind of a thrown together thing, right? The match was supposed to be different, but then there were injuries. The card got mixed up. I was supposed to wrestle Trent Seven at first, but then we end up in a tag team match together against the Rascals, and we put on such a great performance that TNA decided to sign Trent Seven to a contract in the ring right then and there, and it was a huge moment, and that kind of forged the bond between myself and Trent Seven. And from the outside looking in, I think people will say that it's an odd pairing, right? But I think Trent Seven and I very much come from the same background when it comes to professional wrestling, where we were I started in Quebec and didn't really leave the country or get a look at by a major company for the first uh, 8 years of my career. And then it was, couldn't come to the US. So traveling the world and wrestling all around, where at the same time, Trent was really carrying the boom of British wrestling that from the 2010s on that we all remember, where the scene over there in the UK really exploded. And I think British Strong Style and Trent Seven were really at the spearhead of that. So he and I really understand what it's like to create a scene, to create wrestling fans, to have great matches that audience want to see, because we both, for a very long time, worked with this correlation that if your match is good and the audience enjoys it, then you will go to the merch table and you will sell more t-shirts, and you will, like, there's actual metrics and there's value to having a good match. That appreciation is shown to you directly. And I think the fact that he and I see professional wrestling from that very same angle is what has made us work so well as a tag team.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been great seeing you together. I mean, you've been over here in the UK and wrestled before. I don't know what you know about the scene at the moment. I think right now, if you ask me, the scene over here is probably the hottest it's pretty much ever going or ever been in since I've been watching it. But talking about your time over here in the UK, did you enjoy wrestling and do you enjoy the style over here in the UK as well? I know you mentioned that the sort of strong style of Trent.
Absolutely. I was back in the UK just a couple weeks ago for OTT, where I got to wrestle in Wolverhampton, Dublin, and Belfast, and that all went amazing. I'm guessing. Uh, but no, between I think it was I came over for Rev
Yeah.
Pro for the first time in 2015, where I had my first ever match in Europe against Big Damo, and I spent the next 5 years almost, right up until the global pandemic that shut the world down, going back and forth between Canada, Japan, and the UK. And I spent a lot of time over there, got to wrestle everywhere. And I mean, there's a now, just like before, of course, the scene changed a lot. There were several things that happened that really shook things up, most notably a global pandemic. But the scene was red hot for a while. If you were an American or Canadian who was looking to get some good independent wrestling in, you came to England. And I really think that we're getting back there. I mean, there is so much great talent. TNA got to experience it last year when they came to the UK. That ended up with the signing of a young Leon Slater, who is still tearing it up in TNA. But yeah, there's fantastic talent around the world, and the United Kingdom continues to be a real hotbed for developing talent.
It certainly does. I always mention Leon when we're on these interviews with TNA guys. I can't wax lyrical about him enough. But let's move Emergence now. This is interesting. So they're bringing back, as I say, one of my favorite matches in TNA, the Ultimate X match. It is always a highlight of TNA pay-per-views or TNA wrestling I've managed to watch in my time. First things first, you're the champion. Why did you even want to go into this?
Because I'm the champion.
Yeah.
Because I want to be champion, because I deserve to be champion. I want to be champion because I am the best at the best style of professional wrestling in the best division. And I don't think I could live with myself. I don't think it would be fair to call myself a champion if I didn't prove that I deserve to be a champion. I think pro wrestling is very much, there's no off season. You have to be consistent. You're only as good as your last performance. And if I'm not defending this championship as often as I can, then what's the point?
Indeed. It was, I think Santino said if you'd lost your qualifier, they would have crowned a new champion, basically, at Emergence. And
That's right.
congratulations, you managed to win that match. So you're now in the Ultimate X match. How do you honestly prepare for a match like that? Because it really is one of those ones where I always say there's A, so many moving parts, and B, you kind of need your head on the swivel a little bit.
You kind of have to just get ready and face it and let it hit you. The my first ever Ultimate X match was at Slammiversary 2022, where I won the X Division Championship for the first time. And on my Twitch stream, we spent several hours watching all the Ultimate X matches that we could. I mean, I studied it. I researched all of the previous winners, all the strategies, but ultimately, there is nothing that can prepare you for the feeling of literally hanging off of a giant X suspended 20 feet above a professional wrestling ring. It is terrifying. It is incredible. And that's why it's so exciting and so challenging. And it's honestly an incredibly dangerous position to be in as a champion. But again, I want to prove that I can do it. That's the only way that I can thrive as a champion.
I want to see if you're going to do some crazy moves in there because we have seen some amazing moves, some dangerous moves, even to an extent in this match. So I want to see what Speedball is going to do in that. And it's going
The main challenge of the Ultimate X match is going in there knowing that Frankie Kazarian has already done every single life-threatening stunt that you could possibly think of. Many, many times he has fallen directly on his head, right off the X, many, many times, and somehow lived to tell the tale, which I guess that part is encouraging, but still, there is still an infinity of options in terms of crazy things to do in those matches, and I feel like something unbelievable happens every single time, and that's why it's one of the most exciting matches in the world right now.
I think it's iconic matches now. I think it's got to that level where the Ultimate X match is just iconic. If someone said to me TNA, there's two matches that spring to mind. King of the Mountain 1 and Ultimate X is up there. I think it's got iconic status now because when you hear it, you automatically think this is going to be absolutely crazy. And it pretty much tends to be crazy. I've got an interesting question though, Mike, from one of our listeners in. They want to know where the Speedball nickname come from.
So there was a writer in Montreal called Michael Lacour Ryan who did a lot of journalism for Montreal wrestling in the mid 2000s. And in one of my early matches, he described my style as bouncing around the ring like a speedball. You know, the piece of boxing equipment that just
Yeah.
bounces. Sometimes it's also called a speed bag, but speed bag, Mike Bailey doesn't sound so good. So yeah, bouncing around the ring like a speedball, and then the promoter that I was working for was like, "That's it. There's your nickname. You're Speedball Mike Bailey now."
Wow. And it's ever since it's been there. It's never had to change or anything like that, which is great. And it kind of fits you really well though, I think, from a wrestling standpoint.
So yes, and I like it for many reasons. It's that it's not is that it begs the question, what is a speedball? Why are you called speedball? I very, very much dislike when people have like super on the nose nicknames. You're the pit bull or you're the monster or whatever because it sounds cool. I like the speedball because it does I like speedball as a nickname because it doesn't sound so over the top intimidating. And also, Michael Ryan has passed away. He passed away a few years after giving me that nickname, so I'm trying to keep it as long as I can.
Oh, I think you should keep it forever. That in that sense, that is
I
definitely
would love to.
the case. We can't go anywhere without saying the words NXT NA. Seems to be a thing nowadays. It's blowing up, going crazy everywhere. We're seeing Joe Hendry on my screen twice a week now instead of once. I mean, it's literally say his name and he appears. Literally now. Yeah, no, he's not behind you, and he's not. Oh, I don't think he's behind me. I can't see. I'd hope not, because that'd be breaking and entering. But anyway, with that being said, I mean, would you like to defend that X Division Championship in on the X Division Championship on NXT?
Of course I would. I mean, look at Joe Hendry, what it's done for him. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's definitely increased his already amazing popularity, right? But of course, I mean, put Joe Hendry on your television and you'll get ratings. That's how fantastic he is. That's the magic of Joe Hendry. But the Rascals as well,
Yeah.
what they've been doing has been fantastic. Seeing Zach Wentz and Trey Miguel in NXT has been awesome. And there's so much great talent in NXT right now that I think I would love to welcome within the X division. I think Trick Williams, it's someone that's been really impressive lately. He's been really standing out on NXT. I think Oba Femi in the X division is something that I think is incredibly exciting. He kind of would remind me of Samoa Joe and the role that Samoa Joe had in the X division, which I think would be absolutely awesome. But yeah, there's so much out. And again, my goal is to prove that the X division is the best division in all of pro wrestling, and I am the best of the best. So if you can let me prove myself in NXT as well, I think that would be even better.
Well, we will find out if you're going to be one of the best at the best and Emergence. Mike, we're going to have to leave it there. We wish you the best of luck at Emergence. But guys, as I said before, you check out Emergence and any TNA weekly show on the TNA Plus app. Go and get yourself downloaded that. But Mike, we do wish you all the best, and we hope that you will be the X Division champion after Emergence. And we hope to see you in the UK again soon.
I will not let you down, and I will do my best. Thank you so much for having me, Adam.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks to everyone at TNA. And again, until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.